closely monitoring Kano, Oshun, Oyo, and Edo.
Intense case search for coronavirus in communities activated in 4 more states by Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Reduce the population of inmates to achieve social distancing. President Buhari canvasses speedy trial of court cases.
We are doing 50% of their salary grade level under the COMMES for medical doctors.
Health workers get new hazard allowance.
Because of COVID-19, demand is depressed.
Plus, global oil markets, a new reality of producing countries. Good evening. It's good to have you join us on the Network News tonight. I'm Ian Ray John. Reading with me is Dotun Uguyemi in Lagos. Welcome. As at April 20... As of April 20, 2020, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, announced 38 new cases of COVID-19 across the country. The new cases bring the number of confirmed cases to 665. Of the 38 new cases, 23 are in Kano, 5 in Gombe, 3 in Kaduna, 2 in Borno, 2 in Abia, 1 in the FCT, 1 in Sokoto, and 1 in Ekiti. 188 patients have been discharged so far, and the death toll has risen to 22. Egypt overtakes South Africa as the country with the most COVID-19 infections in Africa. Joyce Ometu has the latest developments on the health crisis globally.
As at 6 p.m. 20th of April, figures by Johns Hopkins University show that 2,517,567 people worldwide have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, while 173,422 have died. President Trump plans to sign an executive order to temporarily suspend all immigration to the U.S. because of the pandemic. The U.S. has the highest number of COVID-19 cases in the world, with 792,958. In Italy, the number of active coronavirus cases has fallen for the first time. Officials announced the drop of 20 compared to the day before. Italy has reported 24,114 deaths. Meanwhile, the death toll in Spain is slightly up again, with 430 fatalities. Pakistan has seen its highest rise in deaths in a single day from the coronavirus. The country's death toll is hitting 192. Let's now turn to Africa. As at 6 p.m. Tuesday, figures by Worldometer show that the continent now records 24,435 infections, 1,166 deaths, and over 6,000 recoveries. Egypt now has the highest number of cases on the continent, reporting 3,333 infections, overtaking South Africa. In other news, Mauritania has recorded no new case of coronavirus 2 days after the last patient tested negative. And Saudi Arabia plans to ease curfew hours it imposed on several cities during the month of Ramadan. And that's a global update on COVID-19. We'll bring you more as events unfold. I am Joyce Ometu.
And back home, Gombe State has lost her COVID-19 free status as 5 cases have been confirmed in the state. Emmanuel Akila reports that Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya, in a broadcast confirming the index cases, appealed for compliance with the precautionary measures more than ever before to avoid the pains of stricter measures.
The border closure by Gombe State government to prevent the spread of coronavirus into the state has been compromised. Now the state has 5 index cases.
Gombe State has recorded the sad news of having 5 registered COVID-19 positive cases in Gombe.
Before now, the government had prepared should the virus arrive Gombe State. by setting up of 3 isolation centers with over 200 bed spaces and a treatment center at the State Specialist Hospital.
The disease is already here now. So the question is, what do we do? The most important thing now is to ensure that it does not spread.
The Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe is the facility where the index cases are taken care of.
We have 5 cases, and one of the 5 cases is not an indigent of Gombe. He's just on his way to Maiduguri. So actually, he has already been sent to Borno State. So the 4 cases that we have are the ones that are indigent of Gombe, and those ones are the ones that we have here in our isolation ward. But the good part of it is that they are all stable.
The precautionary measures in the state remain closure of the state borders and the advisory use of sanitizers, regular hand washing, and keeping social distancing. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, active case search for coronavirus patients has been intensified in communities, with the Presidential Task Force placing heavy surveillance on Kano, Oyo, Osun and Edo states for new cases of COVID-19. This was made known at a daily briefing by the Task Force in Abuja. Kyari Ikben tells us more.
The Presidential Task Force believes the fight against COVID-19 is a war with an invisible enemy. While more COVID-19 cases are treated and discharged, there is, however, a surge in new cases, prompting the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to intensify search for coronavirus in high-risk areas susceptible to community transmission nationwide.
We are closely monitoring Kano, Osun, Oyo, and Edo. We note the particular concern with Kano, and we have engaged closely with the state government.
23 rapid response teams have been deployed. And this strategy requires more testing kits and diagnostics.
As part of the support to the states, the Presidential Task Force has approved the distribution plans for medical equipment and consumables available in stock to the states.
Several ministers gave updates on sectoral responses to the pandemic.
The Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and its agencies have ramped up the public enlightenment and advocacy campaign. You must ignore the vaccine being hawked in Kano, which is called COVID-19 vaccine. It's yellow in color. It is not certified by anybody. Please don't patronize the hawkers.
We have deployed 279 trucks of grains to these 3 affected states locked down by the federal government, Lagos, Ogun, and the FCT. We are making plans for the next deployment.
About 14 or 15 states have already commenced learning via different channels that are available in their states, mostly radio and local TV.
Once you see a flight approved, it's diligently done. It must be essential. It must be COVID-19 related.
We have mapped out 125 aircraft and 13 airports across the country for decontamination. We are currently disinfecting 150 high-risk areas, again around the 774 local government.
Nigerians were advised to use cotton fabrics for the production of homemade face masks, as against patronage of nylon or polyester fabrics. In Abuja, Kyari Ikben, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, to request state chief judges to identify and release deserving inmates in their respective states as part of efforts to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari, in a letter to the CJN, calls for urgent measures to speed up trial of cases and decongest custodial centers. According to the president, most custodial centers are presently overcrowded and pose a threat to public health in view of the present circumstance. Particular attention should be paid to urgent those with health issues, low-risk offenders, those with no sufficient legal basis to remain in custody, inmates convicted for minor offences with or without option of fines, and inmates who have less than 3 years' term left to serve, having served a substantial term of their service for offences that attract 5 years and above. He also suggests the setting up or designation of special courts in all states, including the FCT, to try cases of armed robbery, banditry, kidnapping, and other serious offences in order to facilitate speedy trials. In other news, the Nigerian airports earlier shut down as part of efforts to control the spread of coronavirus in the country will no longer be reopened by the 23rd of April 2020 as earlier projected. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika said the new projected date of resumption of airport operations is consequent upon the 2 weeks extension of the lockdown by President Muhammadu Buhari. He has therefore appealed to air travelers and all stakeholders in the aviation industry to see the current situation as sacrifices necessary to safeguard the health and well-being of the people, with the hope that the pandemic will be short-lived. The federal government has approved 3 new categories of allowances for health workers in the federal public sector. The new allowances, which is a fulfillment of President Buhari's pledge to increase the hazards allowance of health workers fighting COVID-19, was agreed upon after a seamless negotiation by representative of medical workers and the Minister of State, Health, Labour and Employment, and the Chairman, National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission.
We are doing 50% of their salary grade level under the commerce for medical doctors. If you're on a consultant and you are inside the disease center, we give you, apart from that 50%, we give you an extra 20%. If you are in a status clinic or any other clinic that is not public, that is the group that will get the 40%. 10% is for those who are in the hospital environment. They are not health workers.
The offer is good enough. We'll continue to do our best. I'm hoping that they will go and get it paid maybe from this month, from our own view. I want to call on all the state governments that it is also very important for all of them to key into it.
The percentages that have been done, it's going to be way above the current 5,000 as an allowance.
Similarly, the Labour Minister also said President Buhari has approved immediate payment of salaries of members of Academic Staff Union of Universities whose salaries have not been paid since February due to non-participation in IPPIS. Ahead in the news, global oil price falls, Nigerian economy in view. Details when we return.
Fellow Nigerians, follow the instructions on social distancing. The irresponsibility of the few can lead to the death of many. Your freedom ends where other people's rights begin. The security agencies have risen to the challenges posed by this unprecedented situation with gallantry, and I commend them. I urge them to continue to maintain utmost vigilance, firmness, as well as restraint in enforcing the restriction orders while not neglecting statutory security responsibilities.
Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
This month of April, the Nigerian Air Force marks its 56th anniversary of establishment as the air element of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The anniversary is peculiar as it is taking place in the shadow of the COVID-19 global pandemic. As a result, the fanfare and sequence of events that usually herald the occasion have been dispensed with in keeping with the mood of the nation, as well as the necessity to comply with stipulated precautionary measures. Nevertheless, in view of the need to remember the labors of our heroes, especially those who paid the supreme price in service to our great nation in various theaters of operation, the Nigerian Air Force deems it necessary to carry out two events to mark the anniversary, if only to remind us of the sacrifices of these our fallen heroes, whilst not forgetting the current crops of service personnel who continue to make daily sacrifices in service to our fatherland. These events are a symbolic flight past by Nigerian Air Force aircraft over Abuja on the 22nd of April 2020, as well as the distribution of food items and other palliatives to members of the host communities in each of the 6 geopolitical zones and the Federal Capital Territory from 21st to 26th of April 2020. While the distribution of palliatives is aimed at contributing towards the federal government's efforts to assuage the hardship occasioned by the lockdown imposed to curb the spread of COVID-19, the flypast will serve as a salute to the Nigerian people for their support to the Nigerian Air Force over the years, whilst also reminding us all to stay safe in these trying times. As we commemorate this 56th anniversary, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, wishes to assure Nigerians that the Nigerian Air Force will continue to play its part in dealing with all threats to peace and prosperity of our great nation. Nigerian Air Force, willing, able, ready.
Stay connected with your loved ones from wherever you are with the Airtel Home Broadband Device offer. Get up to 160 GB free on Airtel routers with just 19,999 Naira and up to 55 GB free on Airtel Wi-Fi's with 9,999 Naira. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Cheetah International Hotel, pleasurable evolution you can't resist. A concept delivered. Cheetah International Hotel brings you face to face with an unimaginable experience you can't erase. You'll like to come again and again. One thing you will hate is to be told the story. Another thing you will love is to be part of the story. You are looking for where your gain equals the cost. Break even with Cheetah International Hotel with our world-class event center that is set to blow your mind away. A world-class arena equipped with top-notch facilities, syndicate boardrooms, hall 1, 2, and 3, underground basement hall, gallery, and many more. Located on plot 224, Solomon Law Way, Utako District, Abuja. For more information on your highly distinguished hotel services, call 081-007-1882 or 081-007-1883. Cheetah International Hotel, a place where your history and future is made.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it. Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Record price slumps in U.S. West Texas Intermediate, which dipped to as low as minus $37 per barrel Monday, is questioning the fate of global oil prices. For Nigeria, a country that depends largely on oil to fund its budget, this dwindling oil fortunes require new thinking to prevent economic recession. NTA Fineface reports.
Coronavirus pandemic has forced the international oil market on a continuous downward spiral of losses. Oil prices have weakened tremendously due to collapse in demand for petroleum products. As countries adopt lockdown to prevent spread of the virus, the commuting public is forced to stay at home. Consumption of petrol is at an all-time low. A similar situation is facing the aviation industry with equally collapsed demand for jet fuel. In the US, for instance, buyers have refused to take delivery of the product because there are no storage facilities, contributing to the plunging of prices down the negative territory.
Because of COVID-19, demand is depressed. Of course, you know that there are no planes flying, there are no cars on the road, so there is no demand for the products.
Recent resolution of standoffs by OPEC and OPEC Plus helped to check product flow, but COVID-19 lockdown continues to limit demands.
Post-COVID-19, there will be a rebound in activity. And once there's a rebound in activity, demand will come back. And we believe that then it might even not be necessary for us to cut again.
Nigeria depends on oil for foreign exchange. How can the nation survive the trouble ahead?
Once we get out of this pandemic, it means that government will have to do a lot of bailout, for some firms, to come back to life. And these bailouts, the fund is also going to come from oil because Nigeria is a monocultural economy.
Experts recommend boosting domestic economy post-COVID-19 to promote non-oil activities. Ironically, even this will depend on revenue from the oil sector. Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
Now joining us via Skype to speak to the current price in the global oil market and Nigeria's situation is the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simbi Wabote. Many thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Evening.
No doubt there is a glut in supply globally as we speak. How do we as a country that depends so much on revenue from this source survive at a time like this, as well as derive value to bridge the energy gap on the African continent?
Yeah, okay. Before I respond to that, let me take the opportunity to commiserate the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the loss of the Chief of Staff, Kyari, and also his family. Let me also use this opportunity to sympathize with all those that have lost their lives to this pandemic, as well as commend the effort of the Presidential Task Force for COVID-19 for the selfless service and the work they do for the nation. Most importantly, also the first responders, those who are helping us in various hospitals, keeping the gate in terms of ensuring that the pandemic does not escalate. Now coming to the effect of current oil glut and also the pandemic the world is facing. It's a double whammy we are facing around the world. I, being an incurable optimist, I also see opportunity with regards to the falling oil price. I think this is the time for us as a country to wake up and then begin to look inwards on how we are going to tap the opportunities that are there in the oil and gas value chain. It is time for us to think about refining the product. It is time for us to think about manufacturing a lot of stuff in country. You just imagine what would have happened to Nigeria if the president did not take the step to close our borders months back, of which people were shouting. That made Nigerians to look inward to begin to grow crops, begin to enhance agricultural products. Today, I think to a large extent, that decision has helped because at least we have food in Nigeria. You imagine that we were depending on other countries to import things like rice. Today, the story would have been different. So I believe this situation we find ourselves will make us to think differently.
All right, making us to think differently, Engineer Simbi. What really are the lessons for the development of Nigerian content in the sector?
I think this also speaks to Nigerian content. One thing Nigerian content has done in the oil and gas sector is to ensure the security of supply. I remember years back when we faced similar situation with regards to the downturn in oil price and some of the crisis in the Niger Delta. Most of the international oil companies left us alone to manage the process. Through the effort of Nigerian content, we've been able to build capacity of Nigerian companies to provide the desired services. I think the opportunity now is to extend Nigerian content beyond the oil and gas sector, principally to manufacturing, to agriculture, enhancing the value chain in the oil and gas sector, in order that Nigeria will be self-sufficient in so many things that we depend on the international market to survive. So I see a huge opportunity, so long as we will learn a lesson from what COVID has brought. I think the future is great when we get...
Thank you. That would be all because of time. Thank you so much. Moving on, the Director General of Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Chikwe Ihekwazu, has pledged to work hand in hand with Kano State government in the fight against the novel coronavirus pandemic. He was speaking during a fact-finding mission on COVID-19 in the state. Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that the DG had an emergency meeting with Governor Abdullahi Ganduje.
The increasing number of COVID-19 cases in Kano State is worrisome, though the state government has taken bold steps to prevent the spread of the disease. The visit by the DG NCDC, Chikwe Ihekwazu, to Kano State provided a platform to evaluate the machineries put in place by the state government and make necessary inputs to address the daunting challenges.
We know there have been some challenges over the last few days, but we know that they'll come out stronger and continue the work that they started. We stand in solidarity with all of them, and we'll continue pushing on the areas that we're working on together.
Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, who was appreciative with the measures put in place by NCDC to support the state, assured him of continued adherence to the laid-down rules.
What we have now at the moment is grossly inadequate, considering the population of the state and considering the speed at which the infection is going on, and even considering the history of the transmission of the disease all over the world. This is a disease that you have it, you don't even know you have it. There's need to increase our capacity in testing our population.
Chairman, Kano State Task Force on COVID-19, Nasir Yusuf Gauna, and Coordinator Technical Team earlier briefed the DG on the successes recorded in the fight against COVID-19. For now, Kano State has a number of 59 cases with 1 death. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And still in Kano, as the world continues to contend with COVID-19, a strange ailment is now ravaging lives in Kano, and more than 100 people are reportedly dead within a space of 3 days. Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports that the fatality rate is increasing by the day.
The rate at which people are dying in Kano metropolis is quite alarming, though there is no official record on the number of fatalities. But in Koji quarters alone, more than 70 people have died in 2 days. Most of the casualties are reported to be elderly.
They brought a number of remains of people amounting to 70 in this cemetery. We buried 20 people this morning. In fact, the undertakers pleaded with us that work is too much for them, as more are coming.
The situation at the Tarauni Cemetery, another suburb in Kano metropolis, the story is the same, as 40 people were reportedly buried, while at that of Dandolo recorded 35. All these incidences occurred within 2 or 3 days. This ugly trend is raising concern among the medical experts on the causes of such tragedy.
Any patient that is suspected to have COVID-19 infection, the proper steps will be taken. So even there is increased number of this, it's unlikely that this number of deaths are due to COVID-19, because such people are treated separately, such people are given separate special attention, so that they will not be allowed to contaminate or to infect other people. So if indeed there is an increase in the number of deaths in the last 48 hours, it's something that needs to be verified, it's something that needs to be investigated.
Though the State Ministry of Health, in a press release issued by the Public Relations Officer, says is working towards verifying possible causes of the death while praying for the repose of the departed souls. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And away from Kano now, complying with the lockdown directive has proven difficult for many. But indigent members of Nigerian Air Force host communities in Umwalege, Zamani and Ushafa in the Abuja Municipal and Buhari area councils of the Federal Capital Territory are telling a different story. Correspondent Najato Tijani reports.
It is popularly held that trying times call for drastic measures, and staying at home to reduce the spread of the coronavirus within communities is one of such. Members of Nualego community in the Federal Capital Territory have been given a reason to comply with the stay-at-home directive, courtesy of Palliatives, by the Nigerian Air Force across the rank and file.
Nigerian Air Force is 56 years this year, and that's what we are celebrating. But with the mood of the nation and the mood of the whole world now, and with the pandemic, we are going to touch the life of about 2,000 communities. That's in the whole country. But in Abuja alone, we are looking at 4 communities.
This has come as a great relief, especially to the poor amongst us. We are grateful.
Mother of 8, Mabi Jerry, also a widow, is one of the beneficiaries of a targeted household of more than 500.
Me and my children, how many? We are 9 in the house. We are not finding things easy, but we are surviving by God's grace. Honestly, I'm very grateful. Air Force Base has did the right thing for us.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force is preparing for a flypast on Wednesday, the 22nd of April, to commemorate its 56th anniversary. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And in Bauchi, 2 days after a staff of the World Health Organization tested positive for coronavirus, another staff of the organization has also been confirmed positive. The new discoveries now brings to 3 the number of active cases in the state. Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed reports that development has prompted the review of the partial lockdown order on the state by the state government.
Ramadan is coming and this thing is spreading. If by the time those we have sent for testing just come back and we have more, then we may have no option but to do a lockdown.
Worried by the high level of non-compliance to protection protocols against coronavirus in Bauchi State, the state governor, in a meeting with traditional and religious leaders, agreed to come up with clear guidelines towards enforcing the already existing partial lockdown on the state.
Also, the partial lockdown will involve more stringent measures that will affect the whole state, and that we are going to have a committee on palliation to be headed by His Royal Highness the Emir of Bauchi and other members, that will involve the clergymen, the ulamas, the politicians, the women and youth groups, so that we will be able to deepen corporate social responsibility.
Areas likely to be affected are commercial activities and transportation. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed, NTA News.
Sokoto state government has commenced contact tracing of its index case. This came to the fore at a briefing in Sokoto. Musa Abubakar reports.
The inevitable has happened. Sokoto State has recorded its first case of COVID-19, and the task force has since swung into action to commence active case search amongst other efforts to trace contacts. What is worthy of note at this briefing is that the patient had no travel history outside Sokoto State.
Still also investigating how these index cases have got disease or have been affected. So we are trying to make sure that we be able to unravel and investigate the main source that has been infected. Otherwise, what it indicates that there is a community transmission of this disease in the state.
Plans are underway by the task force to set up a center that will manage calls from the public. Meanwhile, the state is in line for COVID-19 testing laboratory to further boost the testing capacity in the country. For now, critical to measures taken is the public to practice social distancing and personal hygiene. In Sokoto, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Now, residents of Katsina metropolis have complied with the directive of the state government on the lockdown of the state capital to contain the spread of COVID-19. Abdul Malik Hassan reports that a mobile court was also established to prosecute whoever violates the lockdown directive.
This is Kofar Kaura Road here in Katsina, which is one of the busiest roads in the state capital. But as it is right now, the road is a bit deserted due to the total lockdown imposed on the state capital to guard against the spread of COVID-19. Behind me, you could also see a mobile court set up to try any violator of the lockdown directive by the state government. The directive, which took effect 7 o'clock this morning, followed a few COVID-19 cases recorded in the state capital. Meanwhile, the newly established mobile court has since prosecuted no fewer than 15 persons as at the time of filing in this report. Addressing a press conference, Chief Judge of Katsina State, Justice Musa Daladi Abubakar, said the mobile court was established to ensure strict adherence of the state government's directive to guard against the spread of COVID-19 in the state.
We cannot send anybody to prison. So, alternative sentencing, fine, impounding a vehicle, giving order for isolation.
He said the Katsina State Penal Code law provides that whosoever endangers the public has committed an offense, hence the need to be prosecuted. The mobile court is expected to hold sitting throughout the lockdown period in the state capital. In the meantime, NTA News also observed that there was total compliance at the streets and markets in the metropolis as they were completely deserted. In Katsina, Abdul Malik Hassan, NTA News.
And away from Katsina now, one of the foremost female engineers, Mrs. Olu Maduka, has debunked a statement credited to her on the social media, purportedly saying government is not doing enough in the fight against coronavirus infection in Lagos State after visiting an isolation center. Mrs. Maduka, in a statement, said she was never at any isolation center and so could not have observed anything being credited to her. She explained that she never authored the said message but saw it on the social media, just like everyone. Mrs. Maduka is surprised to have seen another version of the statement now carrying her name as the author. Mrs. Maduka enjoined the general public to disregard the fake news, which is obviously intended to cause unimaginable damage to her character. She cautioned that coronavirus is a pandemic that must be overcome with the total support of all Nigerians, warning that this is not a time to play pranks with fake news. Mrs. Olu Maduka is the first female Nigerian chartered engineer. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs enjoins the Muslim Ummah to search for the crescent of Ramadan 1441 after Hijrah, immediately after sunset on Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, equivalent to Shaban 1441 after Hijrah. In view of the coronavirus pandemic and based on the advice of the National Fatwa Committee, the Council directs the suspension of congregational prayers in the mosque during the month of Ramadan. Islamic scholars and organizations are to employ traditional and virtual media platforms to disseminate tafsir and other activities. Due to the highly contagious nature of COVID-19, washing, shrouding, prayers and burials of Muslims who may die as a result of the pandemic are to be handled by officials of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and other government health officials, including the representative of the council in each state of the Federation. President Muhammadu Buhari commiserates with government and people of Oyo State over the passing of an illustrious son, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Richard Akin. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says President Buhari condoles with family members, friends, professional and political associates of the legal icon who made remarkable impact on the country as Minister of Education in the First Republic, Minister of Justice and Attorney General in the Second Republic, and member of Judicial System Subcommittee of the Constitutional Drafting Committee of 1975 to 1977. The President joins the Olubadan of Ibadan Court, Nigerian Bar Association, and entire judiciary in mourning the legal luminary, affirming that he used his rich experience and knowledge in serving the country and humanity. In the same vein, the members of the Federal Executive Council condole with members of the Akinjide family on the passing away of Chief Richard Akinjide. A statement signed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, on behalf of members of the Federal Executive Council, late Justice Akinjide has described as a foremost Nigerian lawyer and a frontline politician who became a Minister of Education in the First Republic under Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and the Second Republic Attorney General of the Federation, as well as Minister of Justice under President Shehu Shagari. The FAC member says he will be remembered for his contributions to legal reforms and development in Nigeria. They pray God to grant members of his family the fortitude to bear the loss. Individuals and agencies of government are condoling with the people and government of Oyo State over the death of former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Chief Richard Akinjide, SAN. Elizabeth Omori compiled the glowing tributes.
President of the Senate, Hamad Lawan, commiserates with the family of late Chief Richard Akinjide, SAN, who died Tuesday. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ola Awoniyi, Senator Lawan also condoles with the government and people of Oyo State over the loss and describes the late Akinjide as a man who carved a niche for himself as a walking encyclopedia of the law profession, having made his mark on the sand of time before his exit. Similarly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the death of the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Chief Richard Akinjide, SAN, is a painful loss. The Speaker recalls the contributions of the legal luminary to the law profession in Nigeria, stating that he was an embodiment of diligence who used his knowledge and experience for the betterment of Nigeria. Legal luminary Are Afe Babalola, who describes the passing of Justice Akinjide as a shock beyond description, says Akinjide was a professional to the core and a fervent believer in the rule of law. He further says the late colleague in the Temple of Justice was amiable and humble in nature. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has written the Governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, and some leading traditional rulers, commiserating with them on the passing of their illustrious son and his Chief of Staff, Malam Abba Kyari. Emmanuel Ayimiro has the report.
In the letter of condolence to Governor Zulum, President Buhari said Borno State has lost an outstanding personality. He eulogized Malam Abba Kyari, who he described as an exceptional public servant, a patriot, a true son of Borno, recalling his over 40 years association with the late Chief of Staff. The president said Malam Abba was diligent, committed, and utterly loyal to the goals set for the development of Nigeria while he served as his Chief of Staff. Similarly, the president also condoled with Alhaji Baba Shehu Zana Ajinoma, the district head of Banki, and the Shehu of Bama Shehu, Kyari Ibn Umar, Ibrahim Ibn El-Kanemi, saying Malam Kyari's death came as a profound shock. President Buhari offered his deepest condolences to the Highness and the people of Bama Emirate on the passing of Kyari. President Muhammadu Buhari also received more commiserations on the death of his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, who died of coronavirus on April 17, 2020. In a letter of condolence to the President, Chief Executive Officer, First Bank, Dr. Adeshola Adeduton described the demise of Kyari as a colossal loss to the nation, describing him as a man of many illustrious parts. In a similar message, wrote, his great contributions to the development of Nigeria under your administration shall be remembered. The President also received letters of condolence from Chief Executive of Tuta, Mike Sangster, Shehu Meibonu, acting GMD, New Nigeria Development Company, where the late Kyari was once a staff, as well as other well-meaning Nigerians. Emmanuel Ayemiru, NTA News.
Meanwhile, prominent Nigerians have continued to register their condolence messages to President Muhammadu Buhari over the demise of his Chief of Staff, Malam Abba Kyari. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the later sympathizers are revered monarchs, accomplished Nigerians, as well as reputable institutions.
In his heartfelt message to President Muhammadu Buhari, the Oba of Benin Kingdom, Omonoba Nedo Uku Apolopolo Oba Ewahi II, describes late Abba Kyari as a diligent and dedicated public servant who exemplified unbridled patriotism and exceptional loyalty to his boss, and prayed God to comfort the president and the nation. Similarly, Nasarawa State Traditional Council commiserates with the president over the death of his chief of staff. A statement by its chairman and Emir of Lafia, Justice Muhammad Sidi Baji I, says Kyari was a selfless and uncompromising personality and urged the president to take solace in Almighty Allah. Primate of Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Henry Indukuba, describes late Kyari as one of the real disciplinarians and trustworthy personalities the country was blessed with, and prayed for the repose of his soul. Governor of Niger State and Chairman, North Central Governors Forum, Sani Abubakar Bello, commiserates with the President over the demise of his close ally and a critical partner in the development of the country, and prayed God to comfort him. Former Governor of Bauchi State, Muhammad Abdullahi Abubakar, has also written to commiserate with President Buhari over the death of Malam Kyari, describing it as a monumental loss to the country, sympathizing with the deceased family for the irreplaceable loss. The Chairman, Federal Civil Service Commission, Dr. Tukur Bello Ngawa, has also condoled with President Buhari on the demise of the late Chief of Staff, Malam Abba Kyari, saying his valuable contributions to nation building will be greatly missed. Director General of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Professor Abu Galadima, describes late Kyari as an excellent administrator and unassuming leader who paid his dues through hard work and dedication to service. Similarly, the National Inland Waterways Authority sympathizes with the President over the loss of a reliable aide and confidant. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the authority, George Mogalo, praised God to grant the President and the nation the fortitude to bear the loss. The Ministry of Defense has also joined other Nigerians to identify with the President and the country over the death of the late Abba Kyari, describing him as a social reformer who devoted his time, energy and potentials for the advancement of the country. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer in Durama, Nigeria, Manish Mundra, says the death of the Chief of Staff to the President was indeed painful, considering his landmark achievement in the present dispensation, and urged the President to take solace in God for the monumental loss. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
More condolences have continued to pour in solidarity with the people and government of Nigeria over the death of Malam Abba Kyari, former Chief of Staff to the President. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to Nigeria, Kikuta Yataka, conveyed the heartfelt condolence of the people of Japan to Nigeria, describing Malam Kyari as a major pillar in President Buhari's administration. Similarly, the Chief Executive Officer of the Royal Dutch Shell, Ben van Beurden, said he had fruitful interaction with Malam Kyari on key Shell business investment priorities in Nigeria. He also acknowledged his immense contribution to Nigeria. National President of Actors Guild of Nigeria has also written the President commiserating the loss of a trusted nationalist. Let's now join Dr. in Lagos for the next set of stories.
Thank you, Nyere.
The Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas, NLNG, has joined the League of Donors of Palliatives to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. The corporate body donated 2 vehicles and items worth $2.8 million to support the River State government. Ijeoma Igweke reports.
The items donated are 2 vehicles for surveillance, 5 ventilators, 30 ICU monitors and equipment to upgrade facilities at the teaching hospitals and installation centers. The General Manager Corporate Services, NLNG, Joseph Alogwa, who presented the items to the state government, said the support is to ensure River State government is equipped to contain COVID-19. Food items worth $250,000, he said, will be distributed to their host communities.
We will be refurbishing and setting up a 10-bed isolation and holding center at the Bonny Zonal Hospital, and this would cost $1.05 million. This center will be equipped with all the necessary medical equipments and PPEs to make sure that it is fully functional in the event that COVID-19 becomes present in the Bonny area.
The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Prince Wichike, who received the items on behalf of the state government, acquainted the delegation on proactive steps taken in tackling COVID-19 to ensure the state is free from the virus.
You know, River State had the first index case, a young lady, 19-year-old model. The things you gave us here, I don't know how to thank you for them. The 2 vehicles for contact tracing and surveillance.
He commended individuals and private organizations who have risen to support government in containing COVID-19. In Port Harcourt, Ijeoma Igweke.
And that's it from here. Network News continues after the break.
Glow Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
The coronavirus pandemic has changed the way we see the world,
the way we work and interact with each other.
COVID-19 affects all of us.
To defeat this human challenge and protect our great country, Nigeria, we must listen to our health professionals.
Stay home. Wash your hands or sanitize. If you have symptoms,
contact the health authorities immediately.
Join the private sector coalition against COVID-19
by supporting any way you can.
Nothing is too small to make a difference. We can do it because we're strong and resilient.
Let's fight to defend our motherland, Nigeria, by working together.
And stay alive together.
Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive together.
As you can see, I'm at home. I'm reading a book. When I get bored, I watch movies. Life has not stopped. Together we can beat this thing. All we have to do is make sure we do the necessary thing, which is wash our hands, use a hand sanitizer frequently, wash your hands with soap. Please avoid crowded environments, crowded places. If you must head out maybe to get groceries, use the face mask. So please stay safe stay responsible, and stay at home.
Your white fabrics glowing whiter, your home sparkling and free from germs with Hypo. Make a dazzling impression every time and let your white speak for you.
My wife. Any other wife is a counterfeit.
Oh, Mama. Hypo. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Now available in Lime Breeze.
And aggressive disease containment.
Now on lockdown.
It is one of the measures taken by the country.
How long is all this for? Scientists say that's the big question.
News that connects you globally, from the world to your home, with 4 leading news channels 24/7. Live breaking stories on GoTV. GoTV. Live it, love it.
On behalf of the Council and the entire members of the Nigeria Society of Engineers, I bring sincere condolences to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, on the demise of the Chief of Staff to the President, Malam Abba Kyari. I also commiserate with the Executive Governor of Borno State, Engineer Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, FNSC, MNI, as well as immediate and extended families of the deceased, while praying for Almighty Allah to grant the family and indeed the entire nation comfort and the courage to bear the loss. We also pray that He heals our land and assuage the scourge of the COVID-19 pandemic across Nigeria. May Allah, in His infinite mercy, forgive the shortcomings of Abba Kyari and accept his soul in paradise. Signed, Engineer Babagana Muhammad, FNSE, President, Nigeria Society of Engineers.
Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari first states with veteran journalist Felix Adedapo Adenaike on his 80th birthday. President Buhari also salutes his consistent service to the nation with his talent of skillful writing while working with major print media houses in the country and abroad. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, President Buhari applauds Adenaike's dedication to investigative writing, penetrative analysis and management of people and resources as Chief Executive Officer and Editor-in-Chief and member of many editorial boards in national and international media platforms. The President believes the renowned journalist's love for the nation and people have been clearly demonstrated in his service offered in public institutions over the years at both state and federal levels. And on a sad note, the State House has announced the death of Warrant Officer Lawal Mato on one of the President's bodyguards who passed away Tuesday after 3 years of battle with diabetes. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the President described the late officer who had been working with him for many years as very thorough, trustworthy and dependable soldier who carried out his duty with diligence and focus. President Buhari prayed that Allah will ease his passage to paradise and grant his family, government and people of Jigawa State the fortitude to bear the loss. And that's the Network News tonight. Many thanks for being a part of it. Good night.